Hey everyone, this is Jake. When Brooke and I recorded this episode, the audio decided to completely rebel against us and cut out any of the higher frequencies, which made the audio sound like it came from an old-timey radio show. Which is kind of perfect when you think about it, considering this is a show about James Dobson, who built his entire empire on radio. So, if you'll excuse me... Great. Let's just say we meant to do this. And now, enjoy the show. Welcome to I Hate James Dobson, a podcast that turns your merch orders into snacks.
Yum.
Welcome to I Hate James Dobson. My name is Jake. I'm a former evangelical turned queer sex therapist. And today, we are welcomed by the warm and wise wizard whose wry and wonderful wit woos our watchful witnesses.
Wow, that was lovely.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
Happy August.
Thank you so much. Well, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yes.
I'm happy to see you.
I'm very happy to see you.
Yeah, we've been going about our own little summer businesses, and I'm happy to be reunited at last.
I'm very happy to be back.
Yeah.
My July basically didn't exist.
Yeah,
I was very busy. I had a funeral, R.I.P. Grandma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I have yet to ride my bike down the lakefront trail still, which is my classic summer activity.
That's a good one. My classic summer activity is I find a person with a boat and get on the boat. I haven't done that.
I don't think I have any friends rich enough for a boat. That's not true. Some of them are rich enough. They just don't have a boat.
I know you know people with boats. Let's get on that.
Maybe I do know people with a boat. They just haven't invited me on. I think this is more about my friends.
Readers, if you have a boat, can we go on that boat?
Readers in Chicago, invite us on your boat.
Yeah, let's get on that boat.
This July, I judged a contest. I went to Oklahoma. I went to a funeral. I wrote and ran a D&D campaign, so shout out to Liz and Kevin and Tyler.
Nice.
And I wrote these episodes.
Great job.
So,
that's a lot of things.
Productive, yeah.
I went to Michigan, and I was in a pool, and I worked, and that was July.
Thrilling.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, it is time for Brooke's Books.
Oh my God.
The part of the show where Brooke comes out to talk about books.
Yeah. Listen, friends, I've loved all the support. It's not going to be that exciting this time because I've really been working a lot this month. But here's what we have. My lovely friend Jake sent me a book in the mail, which I just started, and it's so good. As most of you know, 2025 is the year of the hot dog, which I decided when it turned 2025. And there's a book called Raw Dog by Jamie
Loftus.
Oops, I wrote that wrong.
That's okay.
And it's great, and it's about touring the country and eating hot dogs, and that's great. And it's a really cute book. The next book is, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, tune in. For those who don't know or care, tune out. I'm on the second book of From Blood and Ash, and I need someone to convince me that Castile isn't just Tamlin in disguise. If you know, you know. Let me know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, some people will. Convince me, okay? Without spoilers. Okay, the Middlemarch.
Still? Yes, okay.
Going.
Have you read any more of it since our last recording?
No,
okay.
Don't tell my mother that. And then, listen, not to sound like a pretentious asshole, but tomorrow is August 1st, and my friend and I, for the third time, will be attempting, it's been 10 years since our last attempt, we'll be attempting Infinite Jest, which is a pretentious book to read and try to get through the whole thing. There's a guidebook.
Wow.
I got through about 300 pages last time. We're going to try it again. It's good. I don't know why. It's hard to get through it, but we're trying it again. We're giving ourselves from August to the end of the year to read it. I sent her a canister of tennis balls in the mail to get her excited about starting tomorrow. If you know, you know.
What is it about?
It's by David Foster Wallace.
Okay.
It was written in the 90s. At one point, I remember he kind of invents Zoom. It's wild.
Interesting.
Like, makes up a form of telephone where you can see each other. It's like very funny.
Wow.
And there's tennis in it, and it's long, and it's absurd.
Okay.
And it's notoriously challenging to get through, and then people get through it, and then they like our prize once we finish it is that we're gonna like carry it around and like go to restaurants and be like, oh, we just finished Infinite Jest. Oh. Or like go to like coffee shops and be like, oh, we're just here with our Infinite Jest books that we finished. No big deal.
It's so heavy.
Oh my gosh, finished. No, we're just here because we finished Infinite Jest.
That's how I felt when I finished reading Gender Trouble by Judith Butler.
Oh, okay.
Which is so dense. It's a really good like philosophical book, and it is a pain to read.
Yeah, so we're gonna do it this time. I removed my bookmark from 2013.
Okay.
Which was about like 300 pages in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to start over because I don't remember anything except there's tennis. And we're gonna try again.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear how it goes next time we record.
So much. Yeah, thanks.
This has been Brooke's Books. Tune in next time to hear Brooke say,
we love books.
We love books. A fabulous reader gave us this idea. If we ever start a Patreon, one of the tiers is going to be a Brooke Club.
A Brooke Club?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so nice.
Where you all talk about books with Brooke.
Oh, that's so fun.
I think it's really cute.
Okay, great.
Okay, readers, we just finished our episodes on the Duggars.
Yeah, and guess what? I'm going to interrupt you.
Uh-huh.
Because I've been lying to you all day long.
Uh-huh.
I did see that TikTok.
Okay.
I did watch the sequel to Shiny Happy People.
You watched it?
All night last night. I stayed up until 2 in the morning.
Oh my God.
I watched the whole entire thing, and I have notes.
I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing.
I watched the whole thing, and I'm here to tell you that I'm going to fill you, chill you, and thrill you with all of my thoughts about Teen Mania.
Okay, so yes. I was very excited to move on to a new topic, and we kind of are. However, one of the main sources we used for our Duggar episodes was the docuseries Shiny Happy People. This 2023 series was released on Amazon Prime, dealing with both the lives of the Duggars as well as the Institute and Basic Life Principles, IBLP, the cult to which the Duggars were and still are a part. This is how I found our way to talking about Bill Gothard, their cult leader. Bill Gothard and James Dobson were contemporaries, although never formally interacted. Dobson fingerprints are all over the Duggar story. So imagine my surprise when 5 days before our second Duggar episode dropped, the new season of Shiny Happy People was released.
And imagine my surprise when I was going to go to sleep last night. And then I was going to post about the hot dog pizza I had. And I saw your smiling face and said, what's this? And then I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, well, I'm going to watch the whole thing and surprise you. And I have to tell you something.
Mm-hmm. And
you're going to laugh. But I'm not saying it to be funny. I really hate James Dobson so much.
Yeah.
I know you have a whole script prepared.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sorry to be fucking with it today.
So here for
because I did the first episode on this Duggar trio that we're doing. You did the second one, and now we're surprised doing a co-episode because all of a sudden James Dobson was in my face talking.
In the first 5 minutes.
In the first 5 minutes. They were like, here comes James Dobson. And I was like, oh my God, I know who that is.
Uh-huh.
And I had a visceral response, and I hate him. And then I said out loud to my cat, I hate him. And then he was saying the worst things, and I was like, oh my God, I hate that guy. And then it was like the most ironic, weird, and I was like, oh, that's not just like a joke. I hate that guy.
He sucks.
And he was like in my phone, talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but get out of here, man.
I started watching this when I was at my parents' house for my grandma's funeral, and let me tell you what, that was not the move.
No.
I was being confronted with James Dobson's face as I'm actively grieving.
I think this is a really good time. I know you have a whole thing prepared.
Yeah.
This is a really good time for me to read a short list I made.
I'm so here for it.
Called Things I Never Had to Know About Until I Met You. Because this was a documentary I probably would have watched anyway because it's kind of sensational and it was on Amazon Prime. But I wouldn't have known any of these things or felt rage about them when they popped onto the screen if I didn't know you. And instead, every time one of these things popped up, I screamed. And I was like, oh my God, I know what that is. And I felt rage. And then I felt like I had been traumatized. And then I realized I have been traumatized.
Yep.
But I didn't have to be. You have done it.
You volunteered for
it. I volunteered for it.
We are victim blaming here.
Yeah. So here's a list of things I never had to know about until I met you. Ready? That I saw in the documentary. James Dobson.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the Family. Striper. Altar calls. Purity rings. Purity culture. Joshua Harris.
Wasn't it?
I Kissed Dating Goodbye. Mike Ferris.
Yeah.
The Homeschool Legal Defense Association. The Arlington Group. Christian martyrdom in general. And deconstruction experiences. And then I just wrote, I really do hate James Dobson. Then I have some other notes for later.
I like to think of myself as a good person who actively puts good into the world. But sometimes I get messages from people saying, hey, we're listening to your podcast, so we decided to watch a documentary on Ted Bundy. And I go, maybe I'm not doing a good job.
We've never advocated for watching a Ted Bundy.
There's a very specific interaction on Blue Sky. Dear reader, I love you very much. It's very kind that you reached out. But whew, sorry about the trauma, everybody.
I laughed so hard when they mentioned Striper and I knew who it was. I was like, what has happened to me?
Okay. So our purpose today
yes.
is twofold. Primarily, it's just to go through the documentary and talk about the story that it tells, because I think it tells it pretty well. And partly, it's to connect it to things we've talked about in the broader project of this blog of how James Dobson has ruined the world. In case it was not clear, today we'll be discussing Shiny Happy People Season 2 and their new subject, teen mania.
I was like, hell if I'm going to let you pull this out of a backpack.
Well, the entire Amazon Prime collection.
Readers, you have to know that earlier, Jake was like, did you see the TikTok?
I fully asked.
Yeah, do you know what we're talking about? And I was like, no. Yeah, I have some quotes that I wrote down from the documentary. And then I have a very special moment where I will get to it, because I'm sure you wrote it down too. I screamed out loud. Paused the screen and almost called you. Yeah.
I would have been so here for it.
Okay.
So, start from the beginning.
Yes.
Part 1. Full disclosure, I was only very peripherally aware of teen mania. I was going into this experience of watching the show pretty uninformed. Teen Mania Ministries was founded in 1986 and was especially prominent in the 90s and early 2000s. I was not a teen to have mania in those times.
I was.
So, Brooke, what were the 90s like? I've heard of something called MTV. I don't know, old people are always talking about it.
Okay. You know what? I don't have to be friends with you.
You don't.
The 90s were an awesome time to be a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
They were the best time. There was no social media.
That does sound very nice.
It was like you didn't have to look good.
Mm-hmm.
You could draw all over your clothes. It was a great time. I never heard of teen mania, though. Mm-hmm. I didn't know any of this. Although, maybe I did. I don't know. It wouldn't have registered for me, and I didn't know anyone who was into this. So we would have probably made fun of it.
Probably.
But MTV was huge.
Yes.
MTV was great. But in the late 80s, early 90s, mid-90s, MTV, or maybe even later 90s, MTV was switching from being this kind of radical, cool thing to being this pop music, TV shows sort of thing, and people were mad at it.
Very.
Yeah. So it had some shifts of its own.
My understanding about the 90s is indulgence. I think a lot of saturated colors, a lot of things called extreme.
Yeah.
And so teen mania was developed as the evangelical culture's response to MTV specifically and 90s culture generally. I have a Dobson quote from something we'll talk about next episode. Quote, "Your generation has been bombarded with more anti-family rhetoric than any that preceded it. When added to the equally disturbing messages about drug use, sex, and violence against women, the impact has to be considered formidable. MTV, which promotes the worst stuff available, is telecast into 300 million households around the world, more than any other cable program. Though it will not be popular for me to say it, I believe that many of the problems that plague your generation can be traced back to this venom pumped into its veins by the entertainment industry in general."
I want to say one thing about what you just said, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your perspective on the 90s actually feels like adult version of teenagers in the 90s.
That would make sense.
I don't think we felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think we were saying things were extreme and, like, all that stuff. Like,
yeah.
I remember kind of thinking that was, like, you'll get into it, but the way that this guy talked about teenagers was, like, only kind of, like, nerds talk that.
Yes. Well, I think that is we'll talk a lot about, like, the roles of teenagers in evangelicalism, but it does feel very much like a how do you do, my fellow kids kind of approach to everything.
Yeah, exactly. You are going to be really proud of me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I need to, like, go touch grass. Because I actually pulled up on YouTube some video clips advertising this thing.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, and watched teenagers talk about their experience of it. And I was like, wow, this is a lot.
Incredible.
Yeah, I researched our program today, Jake.
I am loving this.
And now we're in a fight.
So, in order to talk about Team Mania, we have to talk about its founder, a guy named Ron Luce, which is Luce, but in my mind, I just think of Lucy LaDuca, the drag queen, the whole time. Ronald Allen Luce was born July 11th, 1961 in California. And according to his story, he had a pretty troubled childhood. His parents split early, and he lived with his dad. He was subject to various kinds of abuse. He got involved with drugs and alcohol, and according to Ron, quote, "My life got worse until I went to the church." He says his stepmom threw all of his belongings out into the yard and told his dad, "I don't want the Jesus freak around." Now I have to pause. There are not real reasons to doubt most of his story, but Jesus freak is such a phrase in evangelical culture. Have you heard of Jesus freak? Is this something that's been, like, peripherally in the culture that you're aware of?
Yeah, of course.
What is your, like, conception of Jesus freak?
It's like a phrase used by secular people to criticize and make fun of religious people.
Yeah. So it was a phrase that came out of the Jesus movement. We've mentioned it before in passing, but I think it's relevant to a lot of things here. In the 60s and 70s, as counterculture was really becoming recognizable through things like the hippies, the various kinds of Christianity were evolving and updating to reach a modern audience. This is a period of time we talk about a lot on the show. It was when Dobson was getting his start. But he didn't fall out of a coconut tree, if you will. He existed in the context of all that was and all that came before him. When the kids went from hippies to churchgoers, the Jesus movement welcomed them in. It was the cool kids' Christianity at the time. And again, cool kids, like adults saying this is what the cool kids are into. Because it still possessed some elements of counterculture and bucked some existing traditions and theology, many people involved with the Jesus movement were derided as Jesus freaks. And it was like a pejorative from secular culture. And evangelicals love to capitalize on this to this day. There's a pretty famous song by the Christian music group DC Talk called Jesus Freak that captures the pictures that they have of themselves very well. Some of the lyrics, the chorus, "What will people think when they hear that I'm a Jesus freak? What will they do when they find that it's true? I don't really care if they label me a Jesus freak. There ain't no disguising the truth." It's short term for feeling like the broader culture despises you, sees you as a freak for Jesus. It is a martyr complex distilled into a two-word phrase. A little bit of a side tangent, we also will eventually talk about DC Talk, and one of the members specifically, Michael Tate, and his career in the Christian music industry. We do not have time today, but the TLDR, the Cliff Notes, is that he was recently outed as a serial abuser, and his abuse was pretty much the worst kept secret in all of Christian music. I've known he's gay for a really long time, and his suppression caused him to lash out and abuse people in horrible ways. It's a whole thing. It's come out in the past couple months. Anyway.
Are we going to be talking about Christian martyrdom?
Oh, a lot.
Okay, great.
Oh, a lot. Yes.
Because I've got some things to say. I got real riled up.
They're such the victims, though.
That's what I mean.
We're the bullies on this platform.
Oh, I know.
I bring all this up to say, it is very possible that Ron Luce's mom did throw him out for being a Christian. But the way he tells the story is speaking to an audience primed to see him as a victim, as a martyr. And that framing is key, I think, to all of this. This wasn't mentioned in the documentary. I found this out by doing other research. After being taken in by a pastor, Ron got a bachelor's degree in psychology and theology from Oral Roberts University, a private evangelical university in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then he went on to get his master's in counseling psychology at the University of Tulsa. We must make a brief digression here. It's striking to me the amount of cult leaders who have degrees in psychology.
I don't think it's that surprising. cult leaders are they're just abusing psychology,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to have some understanding of psychology to abuse it.
Being a therapist, you have a lot of power over people. You're seeing people almost definitionally in a very vulnerable place and getting access to a lot of their very private thoughts and feelings. It is primed to manipulate people. There's like so many classes you have to take as a therapist in therapy school to talk about what being ethical means, your own boundaries, your own limitations. There's legal obligations, codes of ethics, there's a lot. I've said for a while there's a very fine line between being a therapist and a cult leader, and people like Ron Luce step way over that line.
If you watch documentaries about different cults like Nexium or Scientology, you will see that what draws people in initially is sort of using psychology like magic, right? It's sort of like this hyper fast forward version of counseling to sort of really play on people's emotions and make them feel things right away that we would normally do over a long time, right? And it draws them in and sort of that's the buy-in, right?
I think a huge important difference in therapy versus cult shit is therapy is client-led, I think, at its best.
Yeah.
Like, I am not telling my clients how to live their life. It's me saying, well, what are your values, and let's help you live that life. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it. I can fundamentally have pretty big disagreements about some things. But if it's working for you, that's my goal. I'm not trying to push an agenda on you.
Right. Well, it's like I, as a therapist, walk beside you while you get yourself there.
Walking beside
you. As a cult leader, it's like I yank you there and then you're indebted to me. Right? Yeah.
Ron founded Teen Mania Ministries with his wife, Katie, in 1986. Ron Luce was 25 at the time. Part 2, Teen Mania Productions. What was Teen Mania? We're going to first start by talking about Acquire the Fire, one of the branches of this. I have a quote from a couple quotes from the documentary. Someone called it Coachella for youth groups.
Yes. that brother and sister in the documentary are incredible.
They're so cute.
Oh my God.
Someone else said a Christian atomic explosion with teenagers. It was a production. They sold out stadiums, they had big bands and Christian music, they had charismatic speakers like Ron Luce pulling stunts like riding motorcycles on stage, they had pyrotechnics. Again, this was Ron Luce's answer to MTV. Secular music was evil, MTV was evil, but they were popular, so to keep up with the youths, they had to invent the Christian equivalents.
Can I read you some of my quotes?
Please.
That I got from it? Ron Luce talking about wild, turned-on, radical teenagers, which I was like, whoa, that was a messy quote. You're probably going to get into, like, this part of it, but Ron Luce, at one point saying, you can get the money, you just got to find out whose pocket it's in, was real messed up. I was a teenage telemarketer for Jesus, was one of the best quotes. And then a quote I just made up, which you'll get into, is saving people from hell through the art of teenage mime.
I was very involved in musical theater in high school, but it didn't come out of nowhere. I did a lot of drama productions in my time in the church. They love a drama.
When it was revealed, we'll get there, but when it was revealed that, like, what they did on their trips was mime or was drama, I was like, oh my God, no.
So they named a couple bands that had played at Acquire the Fire. The Newsboys, who had Michael Tate in it, the guy from DC Talk who just got outed as a serial abuser. Also, this wasn't mentioned in the documentary, but I looked it up. Skillet toured with Acquire the Fire.
Skillet!
In 2007 and 2008.
Way to go, Skillet.
Fuck Skillet.
Fuck Skillet.
This is my kind of summation. It is a touring tent revival for teens. But the message wasn't just be a Christian and Jesus loves you. Bill Gothard's phrase du jour was be a soul winner. Ron Luce's phrase was be a world changer. I think many teenagers want to change the world. It is a time in your life where you have really strong ideas of what is right and what is wrong. You have a very burgeoning sense of identity. You still have a lot of that egocentrism of childhood where you feel like you are the main character of the world. And I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. I also don't think in general it's inherently immature. But I do think that this primes teenagers to be susceptible to people telling them, you are special, and I'm going to help you change the world.
Yeah, you're very moldable.
Yeah. Live music, especially with other people, especially designed to be meaningful, understandably, emotionally gets to many people. I've used this quote before, but I'll take us back. Someone on the internet once said, I believed in God as a kid because I always felt so moved during worship songs at my megachurch. And then I went to a One Direction concert and felt the same thing and realized I just like live music. Brooke, what is your understanding of how a typical Acquire the Fire production would go?
Okay. I mean, it was so clear.
Uh-huh.
It was like these kids would come in from all over that weren't probably allowed to go to concerts or big events like this ever. This would be the one big thing. They're in a room full of thousands of other teenagers, which probably also never really happens. And it is just, from the minute it starts, it is just huge. Pyrotechnics, bands, it's loud, it's music, it's everything. Also, it's run by other teenagers.
It's run by other teenagers. We're going to talk about that a lot.
Yeah, so it's, well, we'll certainly talk about that. But it's like everywhere you look, it's teenagers, right? And then it's like teenagers performing, teenage bands, all the stuff. It's cool. Even people talked about going in skeptical and then being like, wait, actually, this is super cool, right? And it goes on for a long time. Kids are crying. They're obsessed. It's great. And then, right at the end, there's a shift when the kids are super emotional and overstimulated and all this stuff. There's a big shift into this very quiet moment, this altar call. It's been total manipulation, right? When you have gotten everybody to the point, it's like orgasmic almost, right?
Yeah.
To the point of like climax. And then it's like, now give yourself, I think you talked about this, not Teen Mania, but a version of this that you would have like altar calls almost, right?
Yeah.
And you get to this point where it's like, I'm sure some of these kids talked about doing it, like going to these shows multiple times, you know, in a summer or something. I'm sure they did it every time. It's like, give yourself to Jesus, give up your worldly goods, give us your money.
Give up your worldly possessions to us specifically.
Right now, put it right here in this bag, right? Get the call out for the cross. And they talked about finding like money, teenagers, money, you know, little cash. But they talked about like finding birth control pills and like all their stuff that they would just give up and devote your life to God. And these, you will get into this, I'm sure, but these kids would see these cool kids running this show and be like, oh, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. I don't know, the idea of running pyrotechnics at a big concert, I would do that now. Someone's like, oh, I'll give you money for it. They weren't being paid for it. Again, we'll talk about it. But like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. Well, if you did go down to the altar call and give your life to Jesus, you were then moved to a separate room to talk about joining a missions trip. And this is where we start talking about the second branch of Teen Media, Global Expedition. Yeah. My subtitle is Mission Trips Are Scams. Reader, imagine being a teenager. Maybe you are right now, in which case, hi. Weird, but hi.
Hi.
Imagine saying, do you want to save the world by going around on adventures without your parents?
Yeah.
Shit, I'm tempted to do that now.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Totally. Although, these teens start shouting out the countries they're going to. Nothing, like, awesome, cool countries. But I'm thinking, like, it's the 90s. They're going to these countries without their parents on these mission trips with this one guy, or I don't even know if he's going with them, just randomly. And I'm like, what's the story? How does this work?
Yeah.
Right?
Seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Woof. I have a quote from this, from the documentary as well, that I think really encapsulates the like teenage mindset and why so many people were pulled into the mission trip side of things. People are going to hell. It is eternal suffering beyond your comprehension, and you can do something about it. The only ethical solution is to evangelize, which there's an internal logic on that, and also what an insane burden to put on anyone.
Yes. And you have 3 days to do it. And the way you're going to do it is through drama.
Through drama. Later on, they talk about some of the dramas that's done. There's always some, like, attractive boy playing Jesus.
Yeah. But then there was always some poor little, like, I say this because she was me, reader. There's like some poor little fat girl playing like the wall. You know what I mean? And I was like, God damn it.
Well, Mammy Man. Maybe a hot take, maybe not. Fuck mission strips.
Oh, yeah.
They are largely scams by white people to engage in objectification of foreign cultures, appealing to their own senses of supremacy while under the guise of sacrifice. Not all mission trips, sure, whatever, we can debate. These absolutely were.
Yeah.
Global Expedition didn't care about the cultures they were going to, nor the kids they brought out to them. This is almost a laughable question, Brooke. What is your understanding of their cultural competency?
I mean, come on. And in the 90s. Like, zero. Right? I mean, they're going into these, like, according to the footage, what look like villages where they couldn't possibly have learned any of the languages.
No.
Right? And they're doing a drama about Jesus dying on the cross. The people watching, I don't think, fully comprehend what's happening at all.
No.
And they're just sort of, like, applauding and looking at a play and, you know, I don't know. And they're there for 3 days. And they're saying things like, we couldn't move because it might distract someone and then they would not get the message and go to hell. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they're not getting the message because they don't speak English. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to, I mean, what?
Having been on mission trips, which, to be clear, are just modern day colonialism.
Right.
Having been on mission trips, you feel like you make a connection with the people of the places that you are going to. And you feel like, oh my God, they understand me, you understand them. Maybe there's a language barrier, but like the feelings we got to cross.
Because I'm sure they're very welcoming and lovely and
sure.
like.
Also, you don't know those fucking people.
Right.
You feel like you do, especially from this like white savior complex. You don't know their fucking lives. You don't know fuck all about them.
Right.
You talked about this. We'll talk about this more. The kids had to fundraise for it.
I can't. The kids had to fundraise for it, and what's his name? Ron Luce makes a little commercial for the kids or a little whatever video for the kids. It's like, you might not think you can afford to do this, but you can. There's always money. You can always find money. That was that quote. You can always find money. It just is in someone else's pockets, like your parents or whoever, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where, maybe it comes later in the documentary, but this is where I screamed. Mm. Did you see the ideas for fundraising?
I saw some of them.
Okay, readers.
Please list them off.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to start from like most normal to what planet are we on?
Rent a teenager to clean your house.
Okay, Jake. Car wash.
Sure.
Yeah, fundraising with a car wash. Envelopes. I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
Like, pick an envelope and then you donate that much money that's written on it, okay. But then, as it was scrolling by, I saw the joke I've been making on this podcast for months. Rent a teen.
Yes.
It literally said rent a teen. It literally said that. I screamed. I was like, I have been joking about that. Gabby has been talking about that since the 60s.
Yep.
Now, but here's the thing. I paused it and wrote the whole thing down. Invite church members, family, friends, and neighbors to rent a member of your youth group to clean or complete other jobs for a donation. Do a good job so they will be willing to rent you again. Suggested donation, $150 to $300 to rent a teen. Or, you know, they could just call the local school and ask for a girl.
And trick them and get it for free.
Trick them. So that was one I couldn't believe that was real. Rent a teen, that sounds so, like, it was gross enough when we were putting it in the context of the 60s.
Yeah.
This was like for the 90s. But then when I thought things couldn't get weirder, egg cracking.
Yeah, this was talked about explicitly by one of the people.
Egg cracking was, I tried to write it down and then I got so freaked out. So I wrote, go door to door, cracking an egg on your head. What in the actual fuck? Not in this economy.
It was the 90s. Eggs were cheaper.
But then it was $150 to $500. And then I just wrote LOL forever. But then actually, I was like, what do you mean? Like, but then the guy was like, that's just like shame and humiliation. And like, and then you could have someone do it to you. Like, you can crack this egg on my head if you give me $500. Like, what is, what? Did you ever do that?
No. So I have this a little bit later. I am like allergic to asking people for money. And I do think actually part of it is my experience in evangelicalism. Again, this is later on in the thing, but like there's a video later when, spoiler alert, I guess they file for bankruptcy. Ron Luce is like asking other people for money, and he's like, no amount is too big, no amount is too small. If you've given, can you please give again? And just this like, nothing is ever enough. He's like, yeah, you gave money, give us more money. Oh, you give us money, give us even more, and more, and more, and more. And that approach to fundraising, that approach to tithing, that approach to all these things is something that is like pretty prevalent in evangelical culture, and it never sat right with me. And I think it's part of the reason that I've been like so slow to like make merch for this podcast or like make a Patreon, because I don't want to ask you for your money. Like some people have been very generous and asked about like, are you going to make a Patreon? And maybe, but like I don't want to feel pressured into it. Like we're fine. Like keep your money unless you want, but like I don't want to ask for money. It just feels so gross.
Now, listen, I am the opposite.
You were a professional fundraiser.
Yeah, I was for a while. And I love to ask for money. And I'm good at it. And I have no problem. Please buy all of our merch. It's really beautiful. There's so many different colors. Jake worked really hard designing it.
There's going to be more merch soon.
We should have a Patreon. It'll be out soon. We make a quality product and everyone should buy it. You work hard. You stay up really late. You don't just put notes on your phone. But I don't really ever want to like sell my dignity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I'm not going to do that so that I can go on a mission trip that I have to pay for. Right? Like, so I'm not going to, I mean, not on purpose anyway, humiliate myself for a cost.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know that I could do that.
Well, but if you humiliate yourself, maybe you're just being a Jesus freak, right?
Yeah.
And I say that not to make a joke, like there's already in this theology, in this logic, in this political movement, the idea of you need to be humiliated. It is okay if people laugh at you. They hate you anyway because you're a martyr, right? There's all these ways that it's a denigration of self.
Yeah.
My last note here is they're not going to spend money on stuff like mission trips. Not when they have people to pay like Michael Tate.
Are you saying missions strips?
Mission strip. Honestly, great like burlesque show title, Mission Strip. I would go to that show.
Yeah.
Part 3 is I just held, oh yeah, no, this is definitely a cult.
Yeah.
So concerts and mission trips like this definitely feel predatory. But they're not really the headline here. Episodes 2 and 3 of Shiny Happy People largely focus on the part of Teen Mania Ministries called the Honor Academy. Ron Luce was inspired by places like Liberty University and wanted to have his own indoctrination facility. The Honor Academy was a 1-year internship that you paid for, where you made Teen Mania work. This is where we get the telemarketer for Jesus, right?
Yeah.
The interns ran almost all of Acquire the Fire events, the big stadium events from cameras to pyro. They were telemarketers recruiting other kids, or also Jewish people, also, which was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
They were cooks, they were members of the executive team. Teen Mania Ministries was a viable financial project because of their exploitation of teenagers through the lens of ministry. Also, this internship was a year away from your parents. It was a physical place you would go to without your parents there, and under the control of Ron Luce and his number 2 guy, Dave Has. Has?
Probably Has. Who cares? He's a jerk.
The rules of conduct at the Honor Academy are pretty strict, and this is where we get firmly into purity culture territory. Many of them had copies of I Kiss Dating Goodbye.
Oh yeah, and then here comes our guy.
Yep, Joshua Harris is here. I have a whole tangent about Joshua Harris and his interview for this docuseries.
But did you see the part where I did not know Josh Harris did a round of interviews?
I Kiss Dating Goodbye was a huge deal.
He was on Bill Maher with Ben Affleck.
Yes.
That part cracked me up. And Ben Affleck was like, if you don't think people should be kissing, why are you dressed like a pimp?
That was very funny. Brooke, what did you think about Joshua Harris's involvement in this docuseries? Like, clearly, he's anti this, so points for that, I guess. But, like, how did you feel about it?
It felt otherworldly to me to know who he was and to have had that information, like to know that, and to know that I would have watched this anyway and never have heard of him before, right? And for that to have been a blip in my brain. So it felt to me a little bit like, oh, this guy again, right? Like
an old friend.
Yeah, an old friend. I mean, I think that he was saying that he felt a little complicit and like a little all over the place.
Yeah. We covered I Kissed Dating Goodbye in part 3 of our Purity Culture series, which most people have responded very positively to, and that's fabulous. Thank you so much. Some people criticized my handling of the I Kissed Dating Goodbye saga, especially that I ended with Josh's apology. Right? Because he's a very complicated person, often. I made it as a narrative choice. I thought that, like, ending on a note of healing felt better to me. It was less about Josh than it was, like, my own experience with the I Kissed Dating Goodbye. Obviously, didn't really have a grasp on his post-apology life. So if those were your criticisms, I hear you. You're valid. In this series, I felt really bad watching Joshua Harris in this interview. Like, again, he's brought in to criticize his work and how it contributed to this culture, which is good that he's criticized it. But, like, I don't know that we needed to hear from him. I don't know that he added a whole lot to this. And from what was portrayed, at least, which of course edited, etc., he didn't really seem to grasp the depth of how his work had been used as abuse and control and also torture. Like, I'm sorry, at this point just isn't enough with some of the things that we'll be talking about. So I felt bad that he was included in the documentary. I have a thumbs down on Joshua Harris.
Okay. I thought one thing that was interesting was seeing, like, girls' reaction to him in real time in the 90s, or, like, them talking about him, right? Because when we talked about the book, I just saw him, like, on the cover and stuff, but to hear them say, like, here comes this, like, so hot guy talking about if you should be, like, kissing or not. And really what he's saying is, I've kissed so many girls.
Oh my God, I've kissed all the girls.
Right?
And it's just not worth it.
And he's, like, so dreamy, and they're, like, and I was like...
Also, no offense to Joshua Harris, as a teenager, not that cute.
Oh, but in the 90s, absolutely.
Really?
Oh,
girl,
definitely.
He was so skinny. Like,
yeah.
Snap him like a twig skinny.
Why don't you Google a little thing called Jordan Catalano? Anyway, for the 90s, 100%.
Interesting.
Right? And, because
I just want to beat him up. Like, I want to, like, give him a swirly.
But when they were talking about it, I was like, oh, I see it. I totally see it, right? But it's so interesting to me that I'm like, yeah, they were into him. The message, yeah, right? Like, it was a complicated time for teen girls, I think.
Having not been a teen girl at the time, take this for what it's worth. But I actually assume that, like, part of it is, like, he's not chasing you, and that's exciting because so many men are being, like, super creepy and predatory and, like, really encroaching on your space. So guys,
exactly.
like, I'll respect your boundaries.
Here comes this safe, hot guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to, yeah, I know. So anyway, I don't know. I feel weird because I feel like he's listening.
We did have a brief, like, exchange before I Kissed Dating Goodbye episode. So I don't think he's listening. But if you are, Joshua, come on the podcast.
But I don't know. I don't know that I felt like he added a lot. I think he
was also there for like 3 seconds. Like, I didn't use a lot of stuff from him.
He's maybe got a lot of complicated feelings about all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. People were upset about how you handle it. I don't read the comments.
Not that many people. And the people who had some criticisms are very kind about it. I'm not upset about it. But, like, I hear you. I think those criticisms are valid. It's complicated.
Yeah.
I, with love and grace, don't really care about Joshua Harris, the person. He's a whole-ass person whose life I know nothing about.
Yeah.
The purity culture bit, you had to remove the appearance of evil, which, as we talked about, means don't listen to yourself, don't trust yourself. You are born inherently evil. You always have to be doing better. You always have to prove yourself. At baseline, if you're doing nothing, you're doing it wrong.
I will say this one last thing about Joshua Harris. Having talked about it in our podcast, and then having seen him in the 90s, the footage of him, I understood more deeply, like, what was going on. I don't know if that whole thing with him would have been as popular if he were, like, some schlub.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Like some some 22-year-old guy that looks different.
Yes. A lot of especially like the pop culture that we talk about in evangelicalism, the marketing is just as important as the message, right? Like, most people have not read as many Dobson books as we've talked about here.
Yeah.
But they know the marketing of James Dobson, the family expert, America's most trusted source on family news or whatever. The marketing is just as, if not more important than the actual content of what's being said in most of these things.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is just them perpetuating culture that they seem to criticize. Let's talk about David Haas, whatever, fuck that guy, he sucks. I have written, he's a man's man, and I mean that with all of the worst possible connotations. He loved the movie Braveheart, he had such a boner for anything to do with the military. I'm choosing my words very specifically here. They use language like the mark of the warrior and building an army of leaders, a generation of world changers. This is where we get to like really abusive cult shit. One particular program called ESOL, Emotional Stretching Opportunity of a Lifetime.
Which is just some more of that ILBP crap.
That means nothing.
It means nothing. But the more they showed it and what was going on, I was like, yeah, this is just child abuse.
This is just child abuse. This is cult shit.
Yeah, it's cult shit, but it's also child abuse.
Yes.
Like, they're traumatizing and just straight up physically abusing minors.
Yes.
Like, how did that happen?
Well, so ESOL was like a weekend-long event. It was modeled after the Navy SEAL Hell Week. Brooke, do you know anything about the Navy SEAL Hell Week?
Yes, I know some things about it, right? It's like training, boot camp, but like when you're becoming a Navy SEAL.
So it's like a test to see if you can become a Navy SEAL, if you have what it takes. I was born into masculinity. I lived on military bases. I unfortunately know a lot about Hell Week. It's this like fetishized, like peak of masculinity. If you can do it, you're a man if you can do it. It is meant to test your physical and mental limits through essentially torture, sleep deprivation, and the entire like week-long thing through Hell Week, not ESOL, through Hell Week, you're given like 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Not per night, total. You have to run like over 200 miles. You have to hold your breath underwater. You have to like survive essentially drowning in some ways. Like it is intense. They do it not to test your physical limitations, but really to see like do you have the mental fortitude to withstand these things. And again, it's pretty fetishized. So it's like, oh, you're doing the military thing? That's cool. That means you're like doing it right, which is how I think they got away with torturing kids.
Now, I have to say this very carefully.
No, you don't.
But the Navy SEALs who are doing Hell Week, and the reason I have to say this carefully is because I don't want to get into a whole discussion about how we feel about the military. Mm-hmm. But those people are going on to become Navy SEALs.
If they are successful.
If they are successful. But that's the goal. I'm not saying they should do,
Sure.
Don't come for me. I'm just only in the middle of Middlemarch. But these children are going to go do drama in Peru.
It's really important that a mime be tortured first.
Like, why? What is the need for them to have this training?
Explicitly, you're correct. It has basically nothing to do with the like stated goals and actual things that they'll be doing through Teen Media Ministries. But the goal is to break them. The goal is to get them to be part of their cult, right? You torture kids, you break down their identity. I have a whole bit about this in a second. The goal was to erase your independent identity. In the army, in the military, this is also the goal. You are meant to be part of the military first and foremost. Again, well, we can talk about the ethics of that later, but that is what they do in the military so that if you're being shot at, you want to help your fellow people and not run away and save your life.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying is like, again, ethics aside, not talking about this, but like, I can sort of...
There's a logic to it.
There's a logic to it. I can understand the goal of that. I don't totally... Well, until I guess you'll get into it, I'm sure, but the idea that like, these teen Christians are at war.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Which I have some notes about too, because I was like, at war with what?
The world.
Who? With the world, right. And that is that Christian martyrdom again, right? And sorry to take us there if that's not quite where we are, but the quote that I have from that one is, "The enemy has declared war on you guys, and it's time to strike back." Ron Luth at one point saying, on some interview, saying, "It's really less about what I want, it's about what these young people want and them voicing their own opinions." And I was like, no.
No, it's not.
They're voicing your opinions that you have beat into them. So it is about what you want.
Skillet, bring it back to Skillet, was most popular around 2008, 2009, around the time that they toured with Acquire the Fire. In 2009, they released their studio album called Awake. One of the headline tracks was called Awake and Alive. It starts with, "I'm at war with the world, and they try to pull me into the dark. I struggle to find my faith as I'm slipping from your arms." Verse 2, "I'm at war with the world because I ain't never going to sell my soul. I've already made up my mind. No matter what, I can't be bought or sold." Right? Like, being at war with the rest of the world, this martyrdom complex is inherently baked into all of this.
Yeah. The last note I have on was, at one point, Ron Luth saying, "Yeah, we want our voice to be heard finally instead of your voices to be heard."
Mm-hmm.
Like, talking about white Christian kids.
The real martyrs.
Yeah.
The real victims of culture.
Like, finally it's time for our voices to be heard. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're the only voice that's ever been heard.
Well, so we've talked about this before. We'll get into a little bit later, but a big way that this martyrdom complex functions is that they describe this in-group, the us versus them, the us, as incredibly narrow, right? Christians are the dominant religion in America, but people like Ron Luth don't count Catholics.
Right.
Right? They don't count people who say gay people are Christians. They don't count whatever, like, they define it so narrowly that it's like, well, at that point, you're statistically the minority. So really, you are the victims. And the Catholics, who probably agree with you with like 80% of things, politically, like 95% of things, they're still the enemy. They're still the other. You're at war with them as much as you are with the pagans. They are able to have these rhetorical and psychological tricks to make them, to prove to themselves that they really are the victims.
Wow.
It is this part of the story where you also get some really horrifying and heartbreaking stories of kids just being tortured.
Yeah.
I have some specific things listed. Skip ahead like a minute if you don't want to hear those things, which is fair. But like crawling through small tunnels underground. Having their heads shaved, being referred to only by a number, not a name. Rolling down a hill until you vomit, and probably, rolling through other people's vomit. Put in coffins with mice and cockroaches. They would drive kids out to the middle of nowhere with a 6-foot-tall cross, no money, and tell them to get back to the campus in 2 days. You had to trust God to provide. And if you don't pass the test, you betray your parents, you betray Ron, and you betray God.
I think the saddest story, unfortunately I didn't write down this person's name. I wish I had. Maybe please check and put it in the editing, because I think it's important.
We are talking about a man named Corey Wright.
That there was one black person, man who talked about some of the things they would say, like beat your body like a slave.
Make you your slave.
Make your body a slave, right? And some of that language, and that, I think he was also the one that talked about the egg cracking and like shaming yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And just what that would do to your psyche and like breaking yourself apart for all of this, right? And I think that he was also the one that talked about like doing some of these dramas with people who would like do blackface.
Yep.
Right? With him, and that was just like normal and fine at the time. And then looking back now and really becoming emotional about it when he would see that and being like, what the hell?
I also think that was like one of the only black people in these entire series. Right, because I've had evangelicals push back at me when I describe it as white evangelicalism, because like, well, there's like a black person in my church. But like, this is an outcropping of white supremacy. Yeah. And there might be people of color in that group, but it is about white supremacy. Right. The hyper-focus on militarism wasn't a fluke. They are creating an army of teenagers using similar tactics and philosophies as the U.S. military, but like, it's also the stupid version of those tactics. I have many criticisms of the military and the Navy SEALs, but like, that program is thought through and like calculated to what their standards of perfection. They spend a lot of time thinking about what they want to do for Hell Week. This is just some guy saying, here's what I think we should do, right? It is not the same level of thought or scrutiny put into it.
It felt really, this is a strange word, but it just felt like really perverse.
Yeah.
When I was watching some of this footage, like of him just staying there, it was like he was living out some strange fantasy.
Yeah.
I was like, what is the weird trauma wound that caused this?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's a cult.
Yeah, but his like, I need to put these like kids through this torture. I mean, yeah, they experienced this, like, all this trauma, right? Like, even if it was simulated, some of it.
One of the people in the docuseries, insert name here,
Jeff Charlotte,
talked about wanting to psychoanalyze Ron Luce and how basically all of this was daddy issues.
Yeah.
And, like, it's more complicated than that, sure, but also, like, yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Just like Bill Gothard and James Dobson, obedience was the ultimate virtue. And I think the documentary series does a good job talking about this and instilling how it all came down to obedience. You are always failing. It is an impossible task to be good enough for them. You always have to do more, serve more, submit more. It is a guilt cycle. The more unworthy you are, the more grateful you are that they have you. Your identity isn't just in Jesus from them. You are a member of the Academy of Teen Mania. No one in the outside world understands you. And, as often happens with cults, leaving the cult means leaving yourself behind, leaving your identity behind. If you did leave, it was usually because you broke rules. There's a woman who was interviewed in this documentary who's kicked out because she kissed a boy one time. But many people who were kicked out wanted to get back in.
Desperate to get back in.
Because that was the world that they knew. People talked about struggling to readjust to the outside world afterwards.
I thought so much about your deconstruction story, and that the person in this documentary, Micah, who, when they talked about their deconstruction story, I thought a lot about you.
Yeah.
And this idea of, like, this was my family, and this was what I knew, and this was what I had wanted for so long, and just, I remembered how kind of, like, emotional I was when you were talking about that, and right, like, when this is all you know, and this is what you built your life around, how hard that is to separate yourself from.
Mm-hmm. I did have to watch Defying Gravity. Also, importantly, parents generally didn't know what was happening in these camps.
Okay, well, to be fair, parents generally didn't know what was happening at all.
Sure. But, like, as opposed to other cults where kids are kind of grown up in the cult or joined because their parents are, kids were, from the get-go, separated from their parents. Parents don't really have a role in this, like, in this cult, in this documentary, really. It was just teenagers out there fighting for their lives by themselves. It separated kids from their parents, which is like Cult Tactics 101.
Oh my god, that guy that had his appendix taken out in India?
Yeah.
And someone just randomly called the parents and were like, well,
get an ambulance as soon as he's back in the States.
Yeah, in a week or whatever. Oof. Yeah.
Now is the time where we talk about martyrdom complex specifically. And I think importantly, in 1999, in the middle of Teen Mania's hype, there's a little event you might have heard of called Columbine.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before as well, but the mythos of the Columbine shooting was huge for the evangelical martyr complex. One of the victims of the shooting, Cassie Bernal, is frequently portrayed as a martyr. The myth is that one of the shooters asked her, "Are you a Christian? Do you believe in God?" And she said yes, and then he killed her. That isn't the true story, but the true story doesn't matter. Rachel Scott was also another victim of the Columbine massacre. When I was in high school, we had to do a Rachel's Challenge, where her family came to our school as like an anti-bullying campaign. I've known about Rachel Scott since then. I didn't realize she had signed up to go on a mission trip with Teen Mania.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Me neither. So, like, intimately tied in with this. These two deaths were tragic and horrific, but also amazing marketing opportunities. How better to convince kids that they could also become martyrs? It was something to be feared, but also something to be desired. The best thing you could do for Jesus was be killed.
How old were you when Columbine happened?
Almost 2.
Okay. You know, Columbine was like the first big school shooting, and that had just never happened.
Not on that scale, especially not with the media attention either.
No.
Sure.
I was in college when that happened. I'm just like a little older than you. And I remember just being like really confused. Like, I mean, we didn't even understand what that meant. Now it's so frequent that it's like they have drills for it.
I had active shooter drills in high school.
God. But I mean, I just remember like people weeping all over the campus and feeling so like, just feeling so much about it and being like, what do you even mean, right? And so when I got to this part of the documentary, I was really just kind of like sickened by this.
I think perverse is a really good word. It's really perverse how evangelicalism, especially as a political movement, capitalized on this. If you make 15-year-olds convince themselves that they would die for a cause, you can get them to do just about anything. DC Talk, the band we talked about earlier with Michael Tate, they had a song called Jesus Freak. They also had a book called Jesus Freaks. They had one claim to fame. They milked it for all it's worth. It was a book full of stories of Christians throughout time who had been martyred. The ultimate Jesus Freaks, as they called them. I read that book so many times in high school. It was my free reading book for multiple years in my English classes. This idea of the best thing you can do is be a martyr was still really instilled as part of evangelical culture. Martyrdom was central to this cult and central to evangelicalism. Again, I mean this as a political movement. It both feeds into and doubles down on this black and white thinking. They, whoever they are out to get you. The world wants you dead. Only we are on your side. There are threats behind every corner. You are only safe with us. Do you have any other quotes about the martyr complex?
No, I only have one quote left, and it is about gay marriage.
Cool. Part 4, related to that, culture warriors. One notable aspect of evangelical cults that is different from some other cults is how world domination is a central aspect to their beliefs. And I'm not saying that like to be hyperbolic or silly. Ron Luce was an avowed culture warrior. He bought into his own bullshit and beliefs, and as such, he got very political. One example is he went to San Francisco with a bunch of teens to advocate for Proposition 8. A little backstory for people who weren't brain poisoned. In 2008, California voted on a ballot initiative to ban same-sex marriage in the state. San Francisco is one of the gayest towns in the world, so Ron's choice of location was very pointed. And importantly, Prop 8 passed in 2008. Same-sex marriage was illegal in California from that, although it was later overturned in the courts.
And here's my quote, and it's from the man himself.
From Mr. Ron.
No.
Oh, from Dobby Boy?
Dobby.
Oof.
The quote that I wrote down was, "The most dangerous national policy being considered now, of course, is same-sex marriage."
Of course.
Of course, Dobby. And I had to watch his mouth move while he said it, and I had to like realize he's a real person. And I need you to understand that I really hate him.
We'll talk more about James Dobson at the end.
I don't want to.
Oh, we have a whole other episode to record tonight.
We have to. Oh God. It occurred to me when I heard him talking that I was like, I hate James Dobson. And then I looked around and I was like, look at all this merchandise I have that says I hate James Dobson. And it's only just occurring to me that I in fact do actually hate him.
Yeah, it's like, it's a fun thing for us to say, and it's like a brand and a meme, but like also, it comes from a real place.
Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house at this point. You did this to me.
Yeah.
I'm really mad at you.
I'll take it. Ron says that pop culture purveyors are, quote, terrorists, virtue terrorists, that are destroying our kids. They're raping virgin teenage America on the sidewalk, and everybody's walking by and acting like everything's okay, and it's just not okay.
I didn't write that down because I knew you did.
Everything they did was increasingly militaristic. It started militaristic and got even more so. In 2014, Ron Luce said, "We are doing everything we can to raise up a young army who will change the world for Christ." He also said, quote, "The devil hates us. We got to be ready to fight and not be these passive little lukewarm, namby-pamby, kumbaya, thumb-sucking babies that call themselves Christians. Jesus, he got mad. I want an attacking church." It was very political, and Ron Luce got involved with Republican politics pretty quickly. Teen Mania was even endorsed by then-President George W. Bush.
I couldn't believe it! Yes, I could.
Republicans wanted to get the youths on their side, and Ron had an army of teenagers. Another quote, from the documentary, quote, Teen Mania was the most militant, fundamentalist Christian youth movement in the United States in at least a century, if not more. We'll come back to politics in one moment. But let's talk about the end of Teen Mania. In 2009, Teen Mania was bringing in about $20 million a year. It was also this year that Honor Academy alumnus Micah Marley started a blog talking about her experience with the cult, including its abusive tactics.
But also, are you going to talk about Battle Cry?
It's not super focused on. Talk about Battle Cry.
Just really quickly.
Yeah.
There was Acquire the Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when it got political, it was Battle Cry.
Mm-hmm.
And Battle Cry was like Acquire the Fire on steroids.
Absolutely.
Now Ron Luce comes out in a tank.
They had military people rappel down the side of the stadium.
They were Navy SEALs, weren't they?
I'm not sure. I would believe it.
They were like Navy SEAls.
Yeah,
they meant to look like.
Fully had guns.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was like wild. It was no longer like, this is a teenager concert, and now it was like, you are in the war zone.
I think Columbine was obviously a very important turning point. Something they didn't explicitly talk about here that I think is really important, especially in this exploration of militarism, is 9/11.
Yeah.
And how America lost its fucking mind and became one of the most militaristic and jingoistic things to ever exist. The YouTuber Lindsay Ellis has many, many videos about how 9/11 completely changed, especially pop culture and cinema, and it went from this like fun disaster movie, like Independence Day things blow up, oh my god, that's great, to like hyper realistic, gritty. We gotta like songs are super sad. We're thinking about the troops. Everything's about the troops. To me, Battle Cry is an extension of that as well. Let's just hype up that jingoism to an 11 to bring it back home.
Yeah, it was intense.
The blog that Micah started caught on pretty fast, with many other forum members wanting to tell their stories. Themes of control had been so internalized, many people didn't have language to talk about what they'd been through. Many people thought it was normal or believed themselves. Others tried to talk about it but weren't believed because it sounds fucking crazy.
Right.
This blog was a catalyst for those people. And fairly quickly, they got pretty significant attention, including from members of Teen Mania. Starting in 2009, the following year, 2010, Micah Marley got to talk with some of the executives about her experience. They have clips of this phone call in the documentary.
Yeah.
And they refused to admit fault and didn't apologize. But these people torture your teenagers isn't a genie you can put back in the bottle. And since Teen Mania's business model relied on the exploitation of teenagers, parents didn't want to send their kids there.
And there was fully hours of footage.
Yeah. They started hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, around 2009, Teen Mania Ministries was making about $20 million a year. Their campus was foreclosed in 2014, and they officially shut down in 2015 due to bankruptcy. This is where I talked about this earlier. There's a video in the docuseries where Ron Luce is asking for money, and I had such a visceral reaction to it. It's the entitlement, to me, that I think really gets at me. He's always asking people for more money. It's never enough. It's pretty amazing that Micah and her collaborators accomplished this. They fought their abusers and won. I don't want to feel too grandiose about it, but I think that this podcast is part of that same project. Not about Teen Mania specifically, but about the broader evangelical culture, shining a light on it and saying, hey, this is fucked up. But their legacy lives on. Ron Luce is still out there. He's trying to revamp his ministry overseas with mixed success. Many people who went through these programs as teens are now in their 30s. While some people, many people, had awful and traumatic experiences, many others didn't, or compartmentalized that abuse and trauma. Luce's army is still out there too. Perhaps this is baseless speculation, but I can't help but wonder how many people who are part of the Honor Academy, or Choir of the Fire, or whatever, were at the January 6th insurrection.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't touch on this in the docuseries at all. I don't know how we'd even go about proving that, but to me, there's such a straight line between these two events. In part 6, this is all James Dobson's fault.
Absolutely.
James Dobson is present in this documentary, not unlike how the Babadook is present in the queer horror classic The Babadook. I was very proud of that.
Well, you have so many projects you're working on for me. Now you have to make a James Dobson Babadook. Halloween is just around the corner. We're gonna need that. I'm sorry.
We'll make it March.
Get boyfriend on that. Wrong, Brenda.
Wrong, Brenda is going to be coming to the merch store soon.
Yes.
James Dobson isn't explicitly shown all that much, but he hangs over the whole series like a suffocating fart. As I said at the start, we get a Dobson mention at minute 5 of the first episode.
And I shuddered.
In episode 3, which is largely about the political actions of the Teen Mania Ministries, there are a lot of quotes by Dobson. He is pretty present in episode 3. Ron Luce's foray into Republican politics, it's because he was welcomed by a group called the Arlington Group, a coalition of evangelical leaders founded, in part, by James Dobson. This is also where you get a clip of Michael Ferris, creator of the HSLDA, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and a student of Dobson. Members of the Arlington Group include the Alliance Defense Fund, American Values, Family Research Council, and Exodus International, which all have deep ties to Dobson. And that was without me digging into any of the other groups listed. I just pulled up the Wikipedia page and said that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. I know those ones.
Family Research Council is Josh Duggar, right?
Mm-hmm. It was an organization that Dobson founded that Josh Duggar worked for.
They're all connected.
Right around the same time, too, actually.
Do you see how I just knew that?
Uh-huh.
Do you see what you've done to me?
I'm sorry, but also I think it's important, right? Like
I know, I'm teasing.
It's not... Some conspiracies are real. It's not a conspiracy theory if it's, like, provable. Like I said, this list is without me digging into any of the other groups. Does the Judeo-Christian Council for Constitutional Restoration have ties to Dobson? Who knows? I do, and the answer is yes. He contributed to a book that they published and has promoted their organization quite a few times. The docuseries ends by talking about a political movement the conservatives are gearing up for called a Convention of States. Brooke, what is your understanding of a Convention of States?
I just had the weirdest experience where I fully dissociated.
That never happens on this podcast.
But also, I didn't dissociate enough to not hear the question. It's also just like like the answer came floating up out of my brain because it just lives there now.
Uh-huh.
I'm so mad at you. I'm getting madder and madder as we go along. The Convention of States is the idea that the states should have autonomy and be able to make their own laws and decisions.
Yeah, it's a play for states' rights.
Yeah.
Which is the battle cry of racists and segregationists.
Right.
It is the idea that if you get enough states to agree to it, you can amend the Constitution without going through Congress. So amending the Constitution through Congress is this whole fucking ordeal, and especially with how broken Congress is, it's almost impossible to get anything through, let alone a constitutional amendment. This is kind of a workaround. If you get, I think, like 37 states or whatever to agree, you can change the Constitution however you want. Get rid of the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, and I think this was the part where there was some man who said he felt like women shouldn't get to vote anymore.
Yeah, so this is when the other part of my brain that's broken really comes into play. You see a lot of quotes in this documentary by a lot of conservative political actors. People like Charlie Kirk, propagandist, man with a tiny face, and founder of Turning Point USA. Tucker Carlson, heir to the Swanson food empire, propagandist, former Fox News person.
Wait, who has a tiny face?
Charlie Kirk.
What do you mean?
I don't know how else to explain it. Reader, Google Charlie Kirk tiny face to find out what I mean. Brooke, I just texted it to you.
Well, that's not real.
No, it's not real, but...
Oh. Wait, Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
I'm going to look at his real face.
He's big old fascist creep and a loser.
He does have a little face.
Yes. We also get clips of Mike Johnson, man who shares his foreign history with his son, Speaker of the House, and second in line to be president, endorsing the Convention of States. We also get Pete Hegseth endorsing this. And this moment in time when the clip is from, Pete Hegseth was just some weekend Fox News, Fox and Friends host, whatever. He's currently our Secretary of Defense, which means he's in charge of the military. The man in charge of our military has endorsed the Convention of States to overturn the Constitution. There is a clip that they use a few times, and is by neo-Nazi collaborator, because there's difference, I'm sure, by a man named Jack Posobiec.
All right, welcome. I just wanted to say, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it.
Brooke, early on you asked, is evangelicalism a cult? And it's something that I've been thinking about the entire time we've been doing this podcast, something I think about too much. Again, my brain is broken. I don't think that there's a clear answer, but I have a better understanding of how Dobson fits into all of this. I do not think that James Dobson is a cult leader. It's not like praise. I just think he plays a different role. Mm-hmm. Dobson creates the structures for other cult leaders. He gives them legitimacy. He works with them towards his political ends. He empowers them and then feigningly distances himself from them when it starts to be a bad look. He's not a cult leader. He's a franchise owner. Mm-hmm. He's the corporation. He's the ultimate enabler. He has the Be a Cult Leader box set ready to order for $29.99 plus shipping and handling. That is my answer to, is James Dobson a cult leader?
I agree. You know what he said right out the gate in the beginning of this documentary? He said, I know there's a lot of people who'd like to find me in a dark alley someday.
I have that clip pulled up next.
In fact, there's a boy who was in college who wrote you a poem once, and in his poem he said, roses are red, violets are blue. When I was a kid, I got spanked because of you. And I was that boy. No, I'm not kidding. I'm a little too old for that.
But there's a whole generation that would like to catch me in a blind alley.
And guess what, Dobson? I'm one of them. Catch these hands, bitch.
Catch me outside.
How about that? When I posted online on TikTok about our coverage of Shiny Happy People Season 2, we had a lot of people reaching out. Many of them were excited to hear our takes, which is a very huge compliment. Thank you very much. And many shared their stories of their experience with Teen Mania, things like Part of the Fire and the Honor Academy and so on. Thank you for sharing your stories. And the general sense I got from people was that Shiny Happy People is generally pretty accurate, but they didn't go far enough in some cases. One person wanted me to mention that at one point Ron Luce had an arrest warrant out for him.
He did?
Yeah, for like financial stuff. But like, there's only so much you can cover in 3 hours of the documentary, or an hour and whatever this is for this podcast.
Ron Luce had kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are they grown-ups now?
I believe so. They're older than me. And I'm almost an adult.
So I'm very curious to know what their teenage lives were like.
Me too.
Ron Luce's kids, get on this podcast.
If you don't like your dad, let us know.
Yeah.
Teen Mania was around for like 30 years. I hope that we cover these experiences well for what it's worth. Brooke, I hate James Dobson.
I have always hated James Dobson.
Huh.
I would say like episodes 1 through like 20, maybe 1 through 15. I was like, yeah, I hate James Dobson.
Fuck that guy.
That's what we're doing. He's a bad guy. You're telling me some stuff, but now it is a garden that has been planted within me and has bloomed into a deeper hate bush of, what am I trying to say?
Your rose of hatred is in full bloom.
Oh my God, that was beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
When I was at my grandma's funeral, which is a great way to start a story, I was talking a lot about this podcast, which also is a great way to start a story. And the elevator pitch that I gave to someone was, in part, I don't think that you can understand this moment in American politics without understanding who James Dobson is and the influence of American evangelicalism catalyzed through him.
Yeah.
It's oversimplistic and a little bit funny to say, all of our problems are James Dobson's fault. Honestly, all of our problems are Ronald Reagan's fault. But, it's also not that far off from the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to know all this stuff, but actually I am glad that I do know all this stuff because it's adding such a richer and grosser context to so many of the things that I am consuming now and seeing in the world. And I mean, I'm joking that I am mad at you, but also just
ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this stuff. And while I feel like I'm fucking crazy because I feel paranoid and there's a conspiracy theory around me, it's really nice not to know these things. But also, I think it's really important to know these things.
Yeah, I do too. So thank you for teaching me, and also, fuck you.
Welcome to trauma.
Oh, I mean, we've mentioned several times that I was a child of the 80s and 90s, so not really welcome to it. Just welcome to a new version of it.
Welcome to my trauma. Readers, take care of yourselves. Watch the documentary if you want, if you can. It's good.
Yeah, and it starts with Amy Duggar.
It does pick up where the last one left off.
Yeah.
It's good to see her again. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
I Hate James Dobson is a labor of love, spite. Written, recorded, edited, and produced by me, Jake. In this venture, I am honored to be joined by my amazing co-host, Brooke. If you're enjoying the show, please consider rating and reviewing it. And if you want to connect with us more, you can find us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, and YouTube at I Hate James Dobson, and somehow still on Twitter at I Hate J Dobbs. You can also email us at ihatejamesdobson@gmail.com. We have merch available at ihatejamesdobson.printful.me or on our website, ihatejamesdobson.com. Our theme music is by Mood Maze and the song is called Trendsetter. Special thanks, as always, to Drew, Lindsay, DJ, Jack, and Gary. And thank you, readers, for enjoying our show.